What's good, and welcome back to a redo of my spring preview. And you're wondering why you gotta do another video. Well, the first one got blocked due to it didn't even say copyright claim, it was just blocked. And I was like, oh, it's anime. All right, here we go. And funnily enough, it was actually what blocked it, the Yaiba intro. And I was like, are you serious? The intro to your show is what you want to region block? So I said, okay, I understand. So we're going to redo the video. And with that being said, we will not be talking about Yaiba ever again. But before we get into anime, shout out to @Jim. Yeah, because he actually commented on the video before it got taken down. And I got good news for you, Jim. I got more Gunpla videos on the way. Well, I say that, but they might come out before this video. But shout out to Jim, because it's going to be a perfect segue into Danjo, the show that I was talking about before, where, let me get the name of it. Here is it. Can a boy-girl friendship survive? And thanks to him, I gave it a second shot. And I was surprised. I'll admit sometimes I could be such a sleazeball, but this was actually pretty good. This was actually, it was for comedy, it actually put a smile on my face. And when you get me to a smile, I count that as a +1. So yeah, he said that the character interaction is what he was going for. And I was like, okay, there might be something I'm missing. And there was, because I forgot he had a friend. But the real charm about this show to me, I wrote my notes down. Let's see. Yeah, the character action was amusing. And isn't it nice to see a woman trying to seduce a man? You don't get that a lot in the West now these days. But we're going to move on. And we're going to get straight into it. We're going to re-talk about all the shows. And I got notes, so I have more proper explanation as to what I did and didn't like. So we're going to start with Lazarus once again. Well, first we talked about Danjo, but now we're going to talk about Lazarus. And Lazarus... See, the thing about it is that Lazarus does a lot of things well on screen that I saw, but the lack of tension, or at least, the lack of tension for the main character really kind of broke my suspension of disbelief, because everybody was panicking and worried about the pills except him. Like, if everybody had, if they had run out of time, he didn't look like he really cared. So it was like, when the main character is walking around dancing like he's not caring, that sentiment kind of came on to me, like, okay, he doesn't really care about what's going on. Why should I? And that was a real kind of gripe with my gripe with Lazarus. And the next show I have on the list is Kowloon. And Kowloon, in summary, it's a woman who lost her memories. And she's trying to seduce or re-seduce her fiance with a different character, because she's not the same person as before. And I think that's an interesting story. And what made it really interesting was that they left it kind of as a surprise at the end of episode 1, where they left it for the very end. And it didn't really tell you anything, because you knew he had an ex-girlfriend, but I didn't know it was her. So that was kind of cool. I like that. So Kowloon is definitely still on the list, right next to Danjo. Danjo is that's a funny one. See, Danjo is different. Danjo is the main character rejected his best friend. He's like, nah, I don't want to date you. But this other girl, on the other hand, and that's the charm about Danjo. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to Kijin Gentosho, or Sword of the Demon Hunter. Kijin Gentosho. And this one is about a demon man, swordmaster, who travels through time. See, I didn't read the synopsis. I didn't know he was traveling through time. They don't tell you that in the first 2 episodes. So episode 3, when the whole series is out, is going to be quite a surprise for me. But yeah, so he travels through time, you know, to slay demons. But while he's doing it, he's trying to find the meaning of wielding the sword. And this show was kind of special too, because it did the same thing as Kowloon. It let the viewer discover things on their own. And I think that's what I really like about shows, when you're allowed to discover things on your own. And you find out information that the characters themselves don't even know about. So you already have like a one-up on them. Like you know information that they don't. And that's what I do like about Kijin. It was an interesting story. Now, of course, the action scenes may not be up to a Naruto, One Piece standard. Well, those are high profile shows, but you know, you get the idea. But Kijin is definitely one to look out for. And next, I'm gonna cover Rock is a Lady's Modesty. Now, I'll admit I was a bit rash, so I'll explain my dissatisfaction with this show. It was disappointing as a Rock fan because we didn't really get that touch of Rock, and that's a challenging thing. We didn't get that touch of Rock because I guess they couldn't play actual rock music. But you know, music's all about putting your headphones on or your earbuds in and just jamming anywhere and everywhere. And it was kind of off-putting on how we didn't get that. You know, she didn't hum any rock music. She didn't air guitar any rock music. She didn't have any earphones or headphones in until she met this character, the brunette-haired girl. And that was a little bit disappointing. It only came at the end at the jam session, but again, not a song that we can really jam to. You know, it was like it was a jam session that we weren't really welcome into. Or I'll be honest, I didn't really feel like getting in the room because it was kind of just like, eh. And the sound, yeah, that's what I mean by the soundtrack was kind of lacking, because it didn't really have a note or touch of the rock genre of music. And then it was also disappointing on the ladies form as well, because I was expecting Elite All Girls Academy with snooty girls and everything like that, but we didn't get that at all. We kind of got it, but it was mostly through exposition of, you know, talking about classical music and stuff like that. You know, we didn't really see ladies engaging in ladylike activity besides eating, but we all eat. I mean, I guess, you know, it's a different setting and whatnot and stuff like that, but it didn't really strike the chord, besides the chairman, you know, being the stern lady she is. But that one was just kind of a weird, not enough snootiness. And its greatest challenge is that it's marked as a comedy, and I did not laugh at all in that. So your mileage may vary. You might find this show funny. So, you know, it's a comedy, so go check it out. But I didn't find it funny at all. So that was, I laughed at Danjo, but I didn't laugh at Rock is a Lady's Modesty. And we're going to move on to the next one, which is Mobile Suit Gundam G. How many U's is that? 5? 1, 2, 3, 5 or 6 U's and then an X. I call it Gooks. And the biggest problem with Gundam GQuuuuuX is that Mobile Suit Gundam, because it's a science fiction, it's going to live or die on its mobile suits. And I can appreciate the design of the mobile suits as they are. However, what happens on the screen, they move. The mobile suits are designed more like Evangelion, but they still move like Mobile Suit Gundam. They still move in this blocky someone's at the controls, you know, tactical, strategic, military kind of thing. And yes, it is Gundam, but the 3D CGI really lets it down, because what was special about the Evangelion series was that they, or I guess it was because, you know, it didn't use CG, but we'll talk about CG and non-CG, but let's do non-CG first. So non-CG, I think non-CG would have worked better for this show because the mobile suits look, you know, anamorphic or humanoid, but they don't move like humanoids. Like, we didn't get that same brutality that we got from Evangelion in terms of the movement and stuff like that. It still moves blocky and like armor. It still moves like Gundam. And Gundam can work in 3D CG, but I think it has to stick to what Gundam does best, which is mobile suit dogfighting, where it can't, melee can be there, but 3D CG, it just didn't look good. I don't think it looked good on the screen. You know, for combat, you know, to see the scratches on the armor, the dents where you punched and things like that, you know, we're always going to say 3D CGI is not there yet, but for pushing the boundary, it kind of just feels a little bit like corner cutting, because I appreciate a show like Knights of Sidonia. That was a fully 3D CG mecha show, and I enjoyed that. But with the regular use of characters, you know, having these dynamic movements and everything like that, and then the mechas are not able to do the same thing, it feels off. It's like, why go through this humanoid looking attempt when we're not gonna make them move organically? We're like, they don't move any more organically than the original Gundam series. And that's my biggest gripe with Gundam GQuuuuuuX. And that'll be the recap for this video. And the giveaway will be delayed. We'll save it for a video that has no risk of being copyright claimed or take it down. So giveaway delayed. I'll move it to a different video, and we'll go from there. So the giveaway is so we're not going to put the giveaway in this video, but we'll do it in the next video. And on that note, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my opinions on what I think about these shows. You know, I still appreciate the hard work that people put into these shows, but you know, anime has to compete with other mediums of entertainment. So I like to show you which ones look like they might be something special that will kind of leave a good impression. And on that note, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.